Hi, this is Jenny Wu. For my core Tibet research project, I chose the topic of the Cham dance, and I would like to focus on the history and the modern preservation of the Tibetan Cham dance ritual. So first of all, Chamdes is a really ancient performative Buddhist ritual that has been performed in the Tibetan area for the past couple of thousand years. It is usually performed in larger monasteries as part of longer tantric, I guess, annual ceremonies. And it can be considered an offering to the god, and the dance is usually performed by monks and the monastic community. There are also music played live during the dance, and the dance ritual itself can last from 2 to 3 days. And it has its origin from in India, and now it's prevalent mostly in modern Tibet, northern India, and Bhutan. So what would you see in a Cham dance? It is a storytelling performance, and the stories that is being told by the dance can vary from places to places. But even though it's telling a story, it is an extreme slow and meditative activity for both the viewers and the performers themselves. And one version of the story is that it tells the Tibetan historical legend in which a Buddhist monk named Lalam Pelgi Dorje killed an evil Tibetan king, thus enabling Buddhism and by extension the forces of good to survive and flourish. And as for the visual of the dance itself, you will see the performers wearing very colorful costumes and very decorated masks that represent different deities in the tantric mythology and the characters. And here's why the ritual is being performed. Well, first of all, like I said, is part of a bigger ceremony. So this particular part of the ceremony is to transform the space around, so the space that surrounds the monastery, that surrounds the spectators, um, and the dance itself is supposed to remove the obstacles within those spaces. So the Tibetan definition, or should I say the tantric definition of obstacles, is things that are like maybe a failure in your life, maybe upcoming famine, maybe poverty. So all the bad things that comes in the way of people's life. Um, and also an explanation that I quite like is that the dance allows the lay spectators to encounter the deities that they will meet after death in the between life state, and so prepares them that so that when they die, they will know what is happening and they can use the occasion productively in spiritual terms. And I have attached a recorded footage um, of the Cham dance that is recorded recently um, in Amdo. But I will attach the link to the footage in the description box, so you guys can watch it by yourselves. And now moving on to how the Cham survives and interacts with the contemporary worlds. Um, by worlds, I mean specifically the Western world and the Eastern world. So, the Western scholars encountered the Cham dance in late 19th to early 20th century. It was first considered a devil dance because the masks looks really scary to Westerners and remind them of, I guess, Christian concept of devils. And it has been called many things like the mystery play, secret, or magic dance in the last century. But as more study was done, people start to like change their perspectives for the dance itself, and now they realize it is actually a form of protection and a blessing to the audience. And now it is very frequently performed in the Western world. And as for its history and relations with the Eastern world, it is first performed and recorded, recorded in 1641 when it was brought to the Emperor Qianlong's court and was performed there. And then afterwards, it started to become an intermixture of traditional and new forms of Cham in China. But during the last century, it was prohibited because of the Cultural Revolution under Mao's administration. But after the Cultural Revolution ended, they resumed performing in monasteries, and now you can see Cham dance everywhere. So let's talk about some modern performances. And like I said, now it's being widely performed in the Western society and mostly by exiled monastic communities. But instead of a ritual of purification, now it is more performed out of necessity. By necessity, I mean mostly economic needs. But well, at the same time, it does demonstrate the cultural authenticity of Tibetan culture, and it also represents the cultural and national identities of modern Tibetans. And there are also modern performances solely for tourism. Um, you can see them mostly in Ladakh and Bhutan area. There's also like the guest cham form in northern India, where honored guests or sponsors of the monastery come, and then the monastic community would perform for them. So these transformed forms of cham, specifically performed for non-religious purposes, has started to emerge. But so what is the problem here? Several of my main concerns of the modernization of the Cham dance is, first of all, is obvious commoditization. And like I mentioned, there are deviate purposes that can be either economic, diplomatic, or something else that is just not pure religious purpose. And also, it had turned from a pretty private ritual for like individual monasteries and like lay people in a specific region to a very public performance. And it has changed in nature from a ritual to entertainment, and also these specially accommodated performances that are specifically designed or directed by like in order to accommodate the Western audience, or say the non-Tibetan audience needs. Like a great example would be when a Tibetan dance troupe was invited to perform in France in 1983. The company told them that they need to cut the dance and limited time into 2 hours. But like I said in the beginning, that the dance, the actual ritual itself, can take somewhere from 2 to 3 days to perform. So that is definitely a huge change in the performance itself. And also the existence of sponsorship to the monasteries in order, like, and the special performances for these sponsors just seem, I guess, really not authentic to me. And so the question that I want to ask here, and the question of my whole research, is whether the Cham dance tradition is being both legitimately and effectively preserved in the modern world. So after much consideration and thinking, my conclusion would be, well, yes, the Cham dance is indeed being preserved and passed on as an irreplaceable Tibetan cultural heritage nowadays. And the main reason why is, first of all, I believe that a culture evolves as the generation changes because I think it is the people that defines a culture. So it definitely has the potential to change from over time. And also, I feel like young Tibetans nowadays should have the rights to uh, decide to choose how to preserve their own culture, whether it is public performance or private rituals. So they should have the rights to choose what to do with their culture. So, and secondly, the Cham Dance has gained a greater worldwide acknowledgement, and at the same time, it raised awareness to people around the world that there's this diminishing culture in the East that is the Tibetan culture. So it is a good thing indeed. Um, so what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. And here's a final quote. So that is all. That is the end of my presentation. Um, thank you all for listening. I know this is a bit long, but leave a comment. Thank you guys.